Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to our Let's Play of Medal of Honor. I'm the Ninja Stalker. We will return where we left off.
Human civilization.
Let's see. War room. Get back into it. 15th of June, 1944. I just got word that another ship in the channel was hit by one of Greta's massive shells. You've got to hurry, Patterson. Okay, so Greta is shelling some ships in the coasts or whatever. Or in the channel, I should say. So we must go and deal with this. Remember, look for the throbbing red boxes to place your demolition charges. You'll need to place 4 of them to disable Greta. They've been specially wired for synchronous detonation. So as soon as the last one is attached, run for cover. Auf Wiedersehen, Greta. Auf Wiedersehen. Right, so we got this, we got that, this, how the hell? Okay, so. Some of those shots were totally not where I aimed, but whatever, as long as he gets rid of them. Take some rounds. Okay, so we got this guy over here, minding his own business. These shots, I swear. It's just this analog is so finicky, you know. Single shots. That up. Now I did see something over here. Yeah, it's this. That. Well, let's go and disable Greta. rather, let's go and destroy Greta. Guess maybe not there. Nope. Put that there. Put that one there. Jesus Christ! Shit was loud as fuck, man. Yep, there we go. Drive, keep it up, soldier. Man, my bad, but that shit was loud as hell, man. And then, like, it blew up right then and there, too. Didn't give me much of a chance to run, even though that one German officer was there.
Target has always been a major element of modern warfare. Artillery, tanks, and bombers evolved into lethal extensions of the mighty German war machine. Goering's Luftwaffe, working in tandem with the Wehrmacht's mighty siege guns, smashed across Europe, the Channel, and Britain herself. But tanks could be stopped, rail guns could be destroyed, and airplanes could be shot from the sky.
There we go. So, the Office of Strategic Services Performance Evaluation, meaning Greta, we got excellent rating, 1 out of 1 objectives, number of shots 133, number of hits 67, accuracy was 50. It sucks, but hey, MP40 was the preferred weapon. Number of hits taken was 7, objects destroyed was 7, enemies killed was 19 this time around. 14 to the head, 8 torso, 7 to the groin, 0 left leg, 2 right leg, 9 left arm, and 27 right arm. We are an arm slinger. We got the secret code, and a medal was awarded. Congratulations, Colonel Hargrove. As for that little mini video, clip it or whatever for, what's it, Adolf Hitler and the Nazi regime and Goering there. Does anyone see that number on the side next to Patterson's name? It says 0. I don't know, maybe if it's just on my screen. Anyways, for that, that was Germany's thing doing the Blitzkrieg. They found a very effective way of using ground troops with any kind of support and to move in real fast and just smash up anyone that's in their way. And it worked pretty damn well. As a matter of fact, the Blitzkrieg was very similar to the, what was it called for World War I? Was it the Schlieffen Plan? It was very similar to that. All it was is just an upgrade from that, from World War I to World War II, and it worked, you know, and nobody capitalized in realizing, hey, they're doing the same thing that they did from World War I, that they're doing in World War II. The only difference is this is a new modern era at the time of military usage of equipment and new styles of logistics, new vehicles are coming in and all that. Now the other thing is, for the German army at the time, they were still using horses. The German army didn't have much for equipment and supplies and all that, and they were still using horses, hand-drawn, carriages of horses and stuff to travel a majority of their stuff. So the idea that most people get for the concept of, oh, Germany back in World War II, they had tanks, they had equipment, they had this, that. Yeah, they had some tanks, and those tanks were really good, but there wasn't many of them. There wasn't many of them. They had tanks, and they were real good, there just wasn't many of them. And as for the logistics on the German side, they didn't really quite have much of it. They were still using horses to, use the supply lines, basically, you know. And this was all stuff that I learned in my my classes over at the university. I mean, they eventually did move up to using vehicles and stuff for logistics, but for a very long time and for a majority of the time, they were using horses. Let me see, what else was there? Like, as a matter of fact, for the Germans, there wasn't much usage on motorcycles. They didn't have very many motorcycles. They had some, just not very many. They were still using bicycles. And yeah, as the video said, that tanks can be destroyed, you know, because people were worried about the German tanks. They were like, oh man, they got so many of these good tanks, you know. And a little discrepancy on the so many, but the Germans had really good equipment, really good tanks and all. They just weren't good enough over in the Russian territories because the Russians had winter on their side. The Russians had the cold on their side, And the Germans would make a mistake on trying to take what's the capital? At the time it was a Stalingrad, because I think Leningrad was up further north, and then Stalingrad would be right in the center where most of the Germans were trying to come in at, like from this angle and then this angle and then straight ahead. So they were trying to mount like a 3-armed assault straight at Stalingrad, and the Russians just weren't going to have that. I mean, the Russians, they had factories further past Stalingrad, but then they had to move those factories back because the Germans were actually coming in, and they were doing a pretty good job. But then once winter hit, the Russians were like, "Welcome to our land, bitch." The Russians were able to go through and push back, and they did push back, and Hitler was pissed off about that. Another thing, though, the Russians themselves, they didn't like the winters. They knew better, but they had to defend themselves against in the winter, and some of them actually lost out, some soldiers during the winter time. Let me see. As a matter of fact, there was a part where I think the Russians were going up against the Swedish, was it? But the winters up there were even worse. So then the Russians had to pull back. Their equipment, even the Russians' equipment, couldn't handle that severe cold. And the Swedish guys, all they really had, they didn't really have much for armored support. They didn't have much for soldiers and all. But what they did have was these special ranger-like soldiers that knew how to ski, that knew how to handle the cold, and they were just out there waiting around for these soldiers, They had pretty good camouflage, too. And when I say pretty good camouflage, basically their uniforms was white. There you go. And the Russians at the time didn't have that kind of camouflage. They didn't care for camouflage like that, because over in their territory, their summers would actually be decent. That you didn't need a straight all-white uniform, unlike the Swedish, where they had pretty good uniforms. Let me see. There was the Swedish, there was the Finns, Finland, the Norwegians as well. I think those three countries had a little bit of some skirmishes going on. And they did pretty well. But then the main focus ended up being, the Russians were double-crossed by the Germans at the time, and then they had to defend themselves. And they pulled through pretty well. The UK ended up sending some support to Russia with the Lend-Lease program. They sent some tanks, a bunch of tanks. There was the Valentine tank, there was the Churchill tank, and all that other stuff. The Americans did the same, but they didn't get a whole lot, and some of the equipment that they sent to Russia was lost out at sea. So I mean, there you have that. But yeah, the Germans, they had a pretty good blitzkrieg plan, and the only way it'll work was that you had to send everybody and all at once. And at some point, that blitzkrieg started falling apart because they were splitting the forces in Germany. And you really can't be doing that. For the blitzkrieg to really work, you want all forces at one spot. That way you can just fucking sweep right on through. If you start dividing up your forces to go here and there, that blitzkrieg all of a sudden isn't going to be as strong, It's almost like a haymaker, the fighting term, the haymaker, where it's basically like a good old right swing or a good old left swing. The only way it's going to really work is if you have a lot of control and a lot of power into it. And the Germans were really doing that so well. But then they started going on the Western Front and the Eastern Front, and then they had so many people going up against them that every time they tried using the blitzkrieg, it just wasn't working. And they were confused. They were like, this is we're fighting for the Fuhrer and this, that. How can we be losing? Well, because you were splitting up your forces, and that was the biggest problem. Not only that, you're partnered up with Japan. Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with having Japan as a partner. But the problem is Japan went and pissed off the U.S. They had woken a sleeping giant. And the U.S. entered World War II in 1941. and then officially entered in Europe in 1944. So even though the U.S. troops were green, were amateurs in comparison, maybe some of them had some experience in Africa, but the majority of the troops were green, whereas the British troops, they weren't green. They had some experience under their belt. The French had some experience under their belt. Russians had some experience under their belt. We were basically that group. The U.S. was basically that group at the time that can fill in the ranks, and they had a lot of troops that could just come in and help those who have been into the battle for some time, who were fatigued, basically, you know. And not only that, the war machine that was going on for the U.S., they were turning factories on, everything was going, they had supplies, they had logistics, they had tanks rolling in, even though those tanks weren't exactly the best in comparison to the tanks that they were going up against. M4 tanks are good, the Sherman tanks are good. However, going up against a Tiger tank from the German army, it'll probably take about 4 or 5 Shermans for one German Tiger tank. But we can still keep throwing out more tanks, you know. We had the crew that can go in, we had the tanks that can go in, you know. The Germans, once they lost a tank, it was like, fuck, now we got to go and wait another month or two to build this. Meanwhile, the U.S. guys, they can spend like half a month or so to like build a tank, and it'll probably be like they can send 2 at a time or something. And then not only that, the ships. The U.S. can pour out ships faster than any other country at the time. You know, it took some time to build ships for the Japanese Navy, for example. It took some time to build a damn ship. Their ships were good though, but it took some damn time. The U.S., they started going through this revolution of building ships much faster, and we were just able to pour out ships almost just as good, if not just as good or better than what the Japanese were doing, and much faster. You know, that was the thing right there. And then switching over, talking about the Japanese, they had a pretty good military. They had some good ships, they had some tanks. They weren't really theirs, but they did build their own tanks. But the problem was, Japan was a small island. They didn't have much for natural resources to go towards their supply lines. So like the ships, for example, they needed a lot of oil. Japan didn't really have a lot of its own oil, you know. They had to go to nearby places to try and get oil, and that was the problem right there. For Japan, they told themselves, if we were going to go after the U.S., we have to get rid of them as fast and as quick as possible, which means we need the Japanese army and we need the Japanese Navy to be together on this and focus. And that was one of the Japanese militaristic downfalls right there. Was the army was, no, we're army, we can do the army stuff, we don't need the Navy telling us what to do. And then the Navy's like, well, no offense, but we're the Navy, we don't need any army guys to tell us what to do. So there was a split between the two groups, you know. In some areas they were working together, but a majority of the time they were like, no, Navy is the best. Oh yeah? No, Army is the best. And then they just weren't really helping each other, you know? That was a big thing right there. Because then it came down to like, okay, who's going to be the overall lead commander? Is it going to be a Navy guy, or is it going to be an Army guy for the Japanese to have the overall supreme commander, you know? And they were just split on that decision right there. They were like, no, we want the Army to lead everybody. And then the Navy's like, well, you know, there isn't much land to go around for you to just be like marching around and trying to take some territory. And the Army's like, what are you talking about? We're over here in Manchuria and China, and then there's these places over here. Then the Navy's like, yeah, but we got the U.S. guys coming in, and they got some guys over in Australia, and they're moving up the Philippines, and you got this guy named MacArthur who's kind of fucking everybody up. And then you also got what was the other guy? Who was the Navy guy for the U.S.? I forgot his name. Damn, I can't believe I forgot his name. But you guys know what I'm talking about. Was it Nimitz? Admiral Nimitz or something like that? I don't know. You got this guy, and he's okay friends with MacArthur, and then you also got the Australians doing their thing, and then the Brits are sending some support here and there, and we got a big problem. We need our Navy to be more focused, and we need the Navy to be in charge. That way we can tell you Army guys where to go here and there, and then, like, oh, we don't care about you. It's like, all right, fine, we don't care about you. And then there you go, you have it with that. You know, you can see how that's a problem, you know. And yeah, there's pretty much that. So there's a little bit of history information. I just love history, you know. Love it so damn much. And playing this game, it's got the nostalgia of my childhood playing Medal of Honor. Of course, back then I just played the game to play the game. It was just straight up a game and a gameplay. Now when I play it, however, I see the nostalgia that I had back then, and I also see a good game, and I also see history right here. You know, it is just so cool that I get to see this. Now, of course, in this game, we're going up against Fortress Europe, which we're going up against Nazi Germany. Which, by the way, not all of Germany was bad. Not all of Germany was bad. I think there was a story somewhere, I can't remember where, that there were some German soldiers who were just part of the German army, not the Nazi army, because I think there was two armies going on. You had the Nazi regime, and I think there was the German army as well. And the German army, a majority of them would say we were just following orders. Some other ones would say I didn't follow orders. I went and did my own thing here because it was kind of messed up here and there. You usually have some discrepancies here and there in history. You know, you'd have to go and find the history books and all that. I do believe I read that somewhere. But in this game, we're just going up against Nazi Germany and not Japan or anything like that. But it is cool. It is right there. So let's go ahead and continue on. We'll go ahead and pop a save. And I do like the way this game has it. The first Medal of Honor before Call of Duty came out and any other Medal of Honors. This game focused on spy work and espionage stuff. And you can fight like as if it was Call of Duty or any other Medal of Honor game. You know, go around, guns blazing, shooting and all that. Because in this game, if you want 3 stars, you got to get rid of as many as the opposition or the opposing force as possible while completing your task as a spy for the OSS. You know, sabotage, subterfuge, all that other stuff, you know. This game did it so well. Call of Duty came out and then it just focused on fighting, you know. I think the first Call of Duty, you're on one of those Mike boats, right? And you're going to Normandy, you're storming the beach and all that. There is really no focus on what this game does, where you're basically a spy for the OSS. You're going undercover here and there. You're going to get this. You're going to go sabotage this and all that other stuff. There is nothing like that. This game does it, and it's amazing. I just love it, you know. It really makes you immerse into the game. You feel like a spy. You're doing this. You're doing that. It's just so cool. Yeah, so we're going to save again because I'm paranoid like that. We are 29% complete with the game. I do believe we completed, yep, there we are. And that looks like the Army Commendation Medal, or ARCOM as they call it in the U.S. military. My dad's got like a bunch of these. I kid you not. They're like all over the place. Well, not really all over the place, but he's got a whole bunch of these Army Commendation Medals. He's even got like a few of them during peacetime, which is a rare thing. I'm actually looking. Yep, there's one right here in this military case, and he's got like a bunch of other ones. I lost track of how many of these he got, because literally it was that many. If I had to gander a guess of the number of these, I'd have to say maybe 5 or 7. That's just a guess, but I know he's got a bunch of these specific ones right here. Army Commendation Medals. That's not to say that the ARCOMs or the Army Commendation Medals are easy to get. They're not easy to get. No medal in the military is easy to get. You know, even the ones that you're going to say, that you would probably say, oh, what about the unit citation or this or that, where basically you just have to be in a a good military group where everyone's keeping athletic, or you're just being a good soldier medal here and there. No. They're all hard to get. They're all hard to get. Because you got to put in time and effort to get these things. Now, some of you in today's military probably even say, well, I hear they're giving these medals out, these ones and these ones like Skittles or candy and all, so anybody can get these. You just got to be nearby to this, or you got to be that. I can understand that, but in actuality, these medals, they're all supposed to be tough to get, So... And, I mean, for these medals, like the Army Commendation Medal, my dad worked his ass off for stuff like that. Not that he was a medal hound or a glory hound or anything like that, but he worked his ass off doing his job in the military, And every time they trusted him. My dad was good at what he did. He was outstanding. He was great at what he did, And he got these, It was pretty cool. I liked it. Anyways, let's go on back. And we saved, so we could do the next mission, but that'll be for another time. So ladies and gentlemen, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed the Let's Play and the commentary, and I also hope you enjoyed the little history that I was given, a little history lesson here and there that I learned from my time at the university and all that. So there is that. More videos to come. So hope you guys take care, enjoy, and have a good day.